This week in the parish of bourses and market structure, Embedded FaaS, JSE announces a CEO change, OSTTRA has been sold, and LME makes a Middle Eastern move. My name is Patrick L. Young. Welcome to the Bourse Business Weekly Digest. It's the Exchange Invest Weekly Podcast, episode 317. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is a very brief reduction of highlights amongst the key headlines from the week in market structure. All the analysis of the many events and happenings from the past 7 days can be found in Exchange Invest Daily Subscriber Newsletter, the unique guide to the Bourse business sent daily to your inbox. More details at exchangeinvest.com. Over in bit carnage not that long ago, during the shambles of Biden, the European Union was the promised land for some crypto bros such as the Winklevi, and indeed we noted consistently that this was an oxymoron at odds with the EU itself. Now the whole MiCA regulatory structure is threatened because the big nations find themselves squeezed out of being chosen to regulate many crypto entities. Thus, headlines from Coin Tribune such as MiCA, the Bank of France wants to regain control over crypto regulation, is a sign of the European Union not wanting to process as anything other than a Western dictatorship of weak, old economies. If you read this excerpt, you may be interested to know you can read Bit Carnage every day in Exchange Invest. Alternatively, if you want to follow Bit Carnage, the daily update on happenings in the world of crypto and digital assets, you can find Bit Carnage as a standalone on Substack. This week in exchanges, ASX reminded us they are the birthplace of the parish failure as a service model after an error allowed a stock to trade ahead of a market-sensitive news announcement. This amounts to Embedded FaaS from the apparently shameless incompetents who represent the management, of the Australian monopolist group. We're way beyond full goo-boo now with this Sydney shambles. That's grotesque, unbelievable, bizarre and unprecedented. Nevertheless, management and those charged with governance of the market seem to believe they can offer at most an insouciant shrug towards the broad range of clients ASX and the Australian monopoly market structure is so horribly failing. Better news via Hong Kong. They've launched a Dubai-based unit to expand in global commodities pricing, further increasing the heft of the London Metals Exchange. NYSE and Nasdaq deserve plaudits. They were unperturbed in delivering trading all day long on Columbus Day, despite flooding provoking states of emergency in New York and New Jersey. Interesting headline from India: Bourse ecosystem needs more competition. And over in Ethiopia, they're going to be launching trade in goods under the AFCFTA framework on October the 9th. Hong Kong Exchange's Bonnie Chan has topped Fortune's most powerful woman in Hong Kong list, and Kenya finally would appear to have a functional global online coffee auction once again. Thanks for listening to Exchange Invest Weekly. We welcome your feedback. You can contact me directly, patrick@derivativesvision.com, with any comments. Meanwhile, if you enjoyed this show, we would welcome you giving us a thumbs up. Or if you have time, a positive review will always be welcome, wherever you find this podcast. No results this week, but some interesting news in new markets. The Israel Stock Exchange amongst a series of applicants for a new exchange license in Sri Lanka. Over in deals, it was a busy week for deals in the parish. All the deals were in Exchange Invest Daily, the newsletter no person can afford to be without in capital markets and market structure. For the sake of this podcast, let's look at some edited highlights. S&P Global and CME Group, they've completed their sale of OSTTRA to KKR, and Kalshi, the prediction market, they raised $300 million at a $5 billion valuation under CFTC oversight. Meanwhile, don't forget, if you fancy some financial insights with moving pictures, check out our live stream, Tuesdays 5 o'clock London, midday New York time. It's the IPO video live show. Catch the back episodes on LinkedIn and YouTube via IPO-VID. Now online, we have last week's show, a fabulous IPO-VID 188, The Uncomfortable Truth About Money with the excellent Paul Podolsky. And coming up this Tuesday, Jose Andres Mayora is going to be discussing Wall Street blind spots. Our book of the week, Business Cycles, History, Theory and Investment Reality by Lars-Fed, describes the global history of economic fluctuations and business cycle theory over more than 300 years. In products, the LME is driving forward sustainable metal premium pricing plans, and in technology, alongside those plaudits, both NYSE and Nasdaq, who traded efficiently despite Columbus Day events being curtailed due to states of emergency from floods in New York and New Jersey, we had an interesting thought piece from The SEBI chief urging proactive password security in a quantum age because cryptography will break. That, of course, dovetails neatly with 2 weeks ago's IPO-VID number 187, Quantum Finance with Hayden van der Post. Catch that on LinkedIn, Facebook or YouTube by searching IPO-VID. In regulation, the UK financial watchdog has claimed the bond tape auction was flawed. Bloomberg picking up on a story that Edifi, having won the EU CTP, are now suing the UK FCA, where they didn't win the consolidated tape. That Germany is open to handing more power to the EU markets watchdog is another hideous cut and shot alongside the Parisian discussion in Bit Carnage above to crucify the future of EU capital markets as the failure to deliver a viable CMU after nearly a generation of prevarication is now clearly pushing towards ESMA central planning the future of stock markets at all, which will kill any last vestiges of innovation still apparent in the EU. Career paths, big news from Johannesburg. The South African monopolist stock exchange, JSE, have tapped insider Valdine Reddy as a new CEO. Interesting move for a third consecutive female CEO, as JSE veteran Valdine Reddy will replace Leila Fourie from March 2026, who herself replaced Nikki Newton-King. Gulf Mercantile Exchange, that was formerly the Dubai Mercantile Exchange until it was acquired by Tadawul of Saudi Arabia a few months back. They've announced strategic appointments. James Martin as Chief Growth Officer and Kevin O'Reilly as Head of Commodities. Welcome back to a parish day job, James Martin. An interesting beefing up there of the old DME under Tadawul these days. Finally, news of a resignation. Mike Habte, the COO and a leading figure driving forward the creation of the Ethiopian Stock Exchange, has decided to step down from the Ethiopian Securities Exchange. And meanwhile, all the very, very best to former CME Europe COO Dave Feltes, who's joined consultancy Alvarez and Marshall as MD and partner in the EMEA financial services business based in London. Over in Big World, Politico had a decent op-ed last week with folks worrying about the Trump train looking somewhat at odds with a lot of previous legislation in the money and finance field. Congress is abandoning centuries-old ethics lessons in the crypto push. Fresh from his Middle Eastern triumph, it is still a fair concern. The Achilles heel right now of the Trump administration is the headlong rush for crypto alongside what looks like a perceptible family gold rush in all manner of coins. And on that mysterious and magnificent note, thank you for listening to this Exchange Invest Weekly podcast number 317. Join us daily via exchangeinvest.com, or if you have a new marketplace or exchange you'd like built, get in touch. My name is Patrick L. Young, and I wish you a great week in life and markets.
This show relates to the business of bourses. It is not to be construed as investment advice, nor are we making any investment recommendations. Please consult an investment advisor before you make any investments, and for goodness sake, do your due diligence and do not make investments without complying with the regulations in your home state. Exchange Invest cannot be held responsible for any investment decisions made as a result of our program, which is for entertainment purposes only. The material herein is copyright Patrick L. Young at the date of publication, while our music and sound effects are sourced from copyright-free sources. Thanks for listening to Exchange Invest Weekly, the exchange of information.